Welcome to Hop on Calls, a short, tactical, and practical podcast for outbound sales professionals looking to level up their game by learning from actual cold calls that I make every week live on LinkedIn. My name's Kevin Hopp, and I'm all about helping outbound sales professionals hone their craft and build high-quality pipeline. Let's dive right in and see what we can learn in this episode. Selling does not equal telling. And this is a really common misconception that salespeople have is like, my job as a salespeople is to inform people about our solutions. No, it's not.
No,
it's not. That's what the website's for. That's what the white papers are for. That's what marketing's for. Tell the world, hey. Right. I've got this. Cool. Now, salespeople, here's another hot take. I'm going to make sure I'm in the dial queue here. I paused while you were making your point. Here's my other take. Salespeople will be replaced if all you're doing is telling. If that's your purpose, to show up and say, hey, here's what I have to offer. What do you want? Then salespeople should be replaced. If that's your sales job and you find yourself just telling people what you do all day, you're doing it wrong. Sales,
100%.
The dynamic nature of sales is the ability to have a consultative conversation, uncovering business challenges and aligning it to valuable solutions. It's not showing up, word vomiting everything about what you do and what you have going on and your solutions and all that, and then hoping that they say, yes, I want that, right?
Yeah, I like that. I would tell most people that if they would look at everything as a lifelong value, lifetime value, lifelong relationships versus a transaction of getting the deal done, they will have a lot greater conversations and find themselves into a lot better clients and clientele. But unfortunately, I find a lot of the larger companies, because they're pushing quotas so heavy and they're putting so much pressure on their salespeople, they're forcing them into transactions versus building lifelong relationships.
Hi, Eric. This is Kevin. I run my own company called Hopp Consulting Group. I know a bit of a interruption here. Did I catch you at the minute to have a conversation?
Can you put me on your do not call list, please?
Sure thing.
Thanks very much.
Eric asked to be on the do not call list. So I have a word for people. I have a disposition that I put for people like that. It's called not a phone lead. Not everybody's going to take a outbound cold call, and the people that don't even won't do any pleasantries at all. None of the hi, how you doing today? Like, as soon as I got out, the basic permission based thing, he said, put me on the do not call list. All right, bye.
So something you can try that I love doing is saying, instead of saying, is this a good time to call? Change that to, did I catch you at a bad time?
Mm-hmm.
And that little psychological change, nobody ever wants to tell you it's a bad time. Right? So it's a cool little pattern interrupt.
I like that idea. I've had some people on this show that don't believe in permission-based openers at all. They just kind of believe in, as soon as the call connects, get right to the point.
And
I've switched.
Problem with that thought process for me is everybody in the world loves buying things. We hate to be sold to. And often, if we feel like we're being sold to, we're out. And so I've just been of the more permission-based, because for me, if I'm not willing to have a cocktail with the client, because I'm going to be engaged with them for a long damn time with our solutions. And if I wouldn't have a cocktail with them, then I don't want them as a client, because they're going to be a pain in the ass. So I'm just a firm believer in, let's get a relationship going, because I want to keep you for as long as possible. I want lifetime value versus a transaction.
For sure. So the permission-based openers for me, the easiest way to explain that to reps that I train, because I train sales development teams, I help build sales development teams, outbound cold calling is done on our time, right? Like
Yes.
right when I want to have a conversation, I'm calling you. Just because I call you when I want to call you, when I want to talk, does not mean that right now is a good time to talk about that stuff, right? People answer the phone. This is something I talk about all the time on this show. People answer the phone when they are genuinely busy and they don't have time to talk because of this insatiable human curiosity that 99% of people have, which is, oh, the phone's ringing, I'm going to answer it, right?
Yes.
And a lot of this actually comes from your parents. Your parents teach you from a young age, answer the phone when it's ringing. You do that. Some parents teach their kids never answer the phone. It's a salesperson, and that person is not someone you should be calling, right? And you can call them again and again and again. They probably won't pick up your phone call because it's a number they don't recognize.
Yep. Yeah, I like that a lot. So what I like to always get people to understand is when you're cold calling, you got to think about where they're at. Most people, they're at their desk, they're working on something, they're in the middle of a project, right? Your call is literally interrupting their day. So what you have to do is you have to get their attention focused on you. And when somebody answers the phone and you just go at them and start immediately trying to sell them, you're not going to get their focus. So I always start every call off with, hey, Kevin, Donnie Boivin, and then I'll shut up. And the reason I do that is they have to register in their head, do I know Donnie? Have I heard this name before? And I've actually done a couple of live cold calls where somebody's like, actually, Donnie, I know who exactly you are. I've seen your YouTube videos. I've seen this. I'm like, oh, well, that's a unique thing to happen, on a cold call. And then I'll just go right into it. And then I'll always say,
hey, Kevin with Hopp Consulting. David, how are you?
I'm sorry, Kevin with whom?
Yeah, my name's Kevin. I actually run my own company. It's called Hopp Consulting Group. Did I catch you at a bad time?
I'm in the middle of a couple of things. What's this about, Kevin?
It's about work stuff. If you have a minute, I can get into it. If there's a better time to have a cold conversation, I could do that as well. Don't want to interrupt.
Yeah, when you say work stuff, specifically, what do you have in mind? What are you selling?
Good question, David. Not selling anything today. Was hoping to have a cool conversation with you. The reason being, I work with B2B tech companies to help them establish a strong calling culture, actually doing things just like this inside of their organizations. Do you have a team that's doing outbound calling today?
No. So I think you have the wrong company. It's not what we do. We're a small family-owned company, and we're in the storage container business. So I don't think we're the right lead for you.
Oh, so this is not Click Therapeutics.
I don't know what that is.
Ah, okay. Sorry about that, David. Have a great day.
You too.
The same first and last name.
that's awesome.
Wrong business.
Right? Well, that goes right back to that whole 70% rule on the list, right?
Yeah, for sure. And this is a list. I'm actually working a list that had been phone verified, meaning the numbers, I know they do connect if they're ready to connect.
Right.
But you can't solve for, the team that does this kind of stuff. They call and they say, hey, is this David at blah, blah, blah?
Right.
And David's like, yeah, this is David. And then that's all that they do. So David runs a family business in the container business. Not at all what I was calling for. So,
well, can you work with companies outside of tech?
That's a good question. The answer is maybe. I don't have any clients that are outside of tech. The approach that I lean into and all the modeling that I do. So as a consultant, I start in a spreadsheet because without the business sense of what is this going to net into, what are reasonable conversion ratios, what are all that, I have all that pretty well figured out and dialed in for B2B tech. I don't for other segments. And when I start in that spreadsheet, I can make a very clear and present business case, which we then go do a test case, a pilot study, whatever you want. And I can nail that, 90+% of the time for B2B tech. So that's why I work almost exclusively with B2B tech. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, I like the niche. Most people won't stick to a niche, but if you can own that particular niche, then the sales call is the same sales call damn near every time, and that makes it a lot easier to sell.
That's the idea. That is the idea. And that's why I was I did mention B2B tech in my pitch. It's always interesting, right? When people say that they are busy and then you try to make sure that they can talk and they say, what is this about? And then I say work stuff. The work stuff angle is something. It's something that I've been doing past few months. I've been advising some of my teams to say work stuff so that people go, okay, all right, I can have a conversation about work. Go ahead. Because I think what people say, what is this about? They're trying to get you, they're trying to filter out the people that are, you know, home refinancing and freaking, you know, what are all the things that everybody gets cold calls about all the time? B2C, business to consumer.
Yep.
I'm trying to narrow it down to, I want to have a business conversation with you about your company and your business, not all that other stuff. But
no, I like work stuff. It's vague enough but specific enough that they're like, all right, so you're filtering the conversation, which I think is pretty smart.
That's right. Because what I have heard a lot is when people say, what is this about? An SDR will then, a rep will then vomit their pitch.
Yep.
You know, well, I helped, and then what comes at the end of that? We're good.
Yeah.
No, thank you. 9 times out of 10, we get hit with that. Hey, this is Kevin with Hopp Consulting. Rashad, how are you?
Good. Who's this?
Yeah, my name's Kevin. I run my own company, Hopp Consulting Group. I can hear a lot of background noise. Are you in a place where you can
I'm
have a
tied up right now. I'm tired up. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I'll reach out another day. Good. Yeah, that guy answered the phone, and as soon as he started talking, I could hear like a crowd of people behind him. And when I brought that up, he said, yeah, I can't talk right now. And he hung up, which is cool. For me, in my process, I keep this in my list. Kixie's going to dial him next time I dial this list, right? If I don't have a conversation, I can just put a disposition of keep in sequence, and he's going to stay in that sequence of calls. So you always want to build a system that allows you to come back to people like that. It's a big part of what I teach.
Nice. I like that.
So you're getting the cell phone number off the website, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Hey, Leanne, Donnie Boivin, 817-6. Thank you much. Yeah, that's a cool thing. That's why I call the coaches and consultants, especially when I'm doing, live, because you go to the chamber and they're going to give you the members' actual contact information. So one way people could do that if they're doing tech calls and things is most companies are going to be a part of a chamber. Whoever the rep is likely going to be the business development or sales rep. Call them up and say, hey, I'm looking at the chamber website right now. See, you're the contact in the company. Not sure who I should be talking to in your company. Is it okay to tell you why I'm calling? And maybe you can tell me who I need to talk to. Then they'll tell you who you should be talking to, and then you get them to transfer you into where you want to go. And now you've got another unique way into the conversation.
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. It's interesting. Like this is why I'm really happy that you're here, Donnie, and you're sharing this with the audience, because you have such a very, very different market, right? Very different. Like, the companies I'm calling, I can almost guarantee you none of them are part of a chamber of commerce. Tech startups rarely do that unless they've been around for a while and they start to do community involvement. Then they get involved in the chamber of commerce. But
well, I would tell you with the tech startups, man, there's going to be an incubator in the area that they're likely to be a part of. Get that directory. Same idea. I love telling the story. The way I learned to cold call was with a bottle of Captain Morgan. I was so scared to pick up the phone and dials back when I was selling commercial printing that I just couldn't do it. That phone looked like it weighed 10 billion pounds, and I just was so intimidated by it that I ran to the liquor store, bought a bottle of Captain Morgan, and started doing shots until I got enough liquid courage to pick up the phone and start dialing. I knew I had to do it. I just couldn't get out of my damn head to freaking call. I don't recommend that, by the way, but that's the real way of how I learned how to freaking get on the damn phone.
Look, whatever it takes. I definitely had some times when I was an SDR where we would go to lunch and have 2 beers at lunch to come back and make it so you're just, all right, okay, all right, I can do this. But like anything else, like walking on a tightrope, the more you do it, less you're like my heart rate right now is 78 beats per minute. It's not rising, and I'm cold calling live on LinkedIn. Jason's a fan of the approach.
Hey, Bernie, Donnie Boivin, 817. Thanks, sir. Might be part of the time of day, too. A couple others. And if anybody's watching, if you guys want to throw out a city, feel free to throw out a city, and I'll pick a chamber of commerce.
It's been fun, Donnie. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really do appreciate it. Everybody out there, if you wanted to hear both sides of the conversation, tune in to Hop on Calls, the podcast. You can check them out. They're really short, sweet, educational episodes. As always, a thank you to our sponsor, Kixie, your all-in-one business telephony solution. By the way, Kixie does business texting. They do business calling. They do power calling. They do a lot of different things. Check out Kixie. Go to my profile for a link there. But Donnie, what's the best way for people to connect with you?
Yeah, so DonnieBoivin.com is the fastest way to get me on all the platforms. And guys, do me a favor. If you got any value out of today's episode or any of Kevin's other episodes, do him a favor and share this out with one other person that could get value from this. So if somebody else is struggling to make cold calls and dials, tell them about the show and literally share an episode with them. It's the coolest thing you can do to really help him reach a wider audience. Having my own podcast, I'm telling you, the biggest struggle is growing the audience. So it means a lot to be able to share this out with one person. And then if you listen to this podcast on, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, leave him a review, because that review really, really goes a long way as far as him reaching a further audience. It'll help him out a lot. So thanks for having me on, brother. This was a lot of fun. I've never done this like this before with somebody else. So it was fun to hang out with you.
Absolutely. Donnie, thank you so much. And like everybody, like you said, please everybody go like, comment, share. That would be huge. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
And that's all we got for today's episode of Hop on Calls, powered by Kixie. Be sure to tune into the live recordings every Tuesday on LinkedIn. Would love to have your comments, reactions, questions. It's a really good learning environment for anyone that is looking to do outbound sales better. If your organization is actively focusing on this, feel free to reach out to me, Kevin Hopp, on LinkedIn, or go to hopconsultinggroup.com. I'll see you next time. Cheers.